This episode is brought to you by Istruzi Golf. Hey coaches out there, what I'm about to share with you is for the 1% who are ready to finally take their business to the next level. If you're ready to grow and evolve as a business owner, keep listening. I'm a coach just like you. I want more time to invest in my players, build my skills, and spend it with my family. We also both struggle with the idea of taking time off and sacrificing revenue. Coaches like us need tools to save time, automate admin tasks, and deliver excellent player experiences every single time. What if I told you there is a platform that captures 37% net new revenue in the first 60 days? It only takes 5 minutes to set up, and a simple copy-paste puts the rest on autopilot. As a founder and CEO of your business, you would fire yourself for not taking advantage of this value. Download Istruzi right now and start the journey to modernizing your business. Oh, and when you create your account, don't forget to add an asterisk, that little star thing on your keyboard, to your last name so they know the guru sent you. If you aren't convinced just yet, keep listening to learn more. Now let's get back to the show.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
You know how to cut to the core of me, Baxter. You're so wise. You're like a miniature Buddha covered in hair.
I want to become a guru so girls will like me. Then I will like myself.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules. Rule number 1, no touching of the hair or face.
Of course.
And that's it! Now let's do this!
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 148. I am your host, Jason Sutton, and I am the guru. I am the director of instruction at the beautiful Colleton River Club in Bluffton, South Carolina, where it is my mission to break down high performers in the teaching and coaching business in all fields of study, unpack and tease out what makes them great and successful. Make sure that you download this episode and hit that purple subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes that will be coming your way. All I ask is that you share this podcast on social and with other coaches and players that might benefit from the information. My guest on this episode is the legend, the number one coach in the world, none other than my good friend, Mr. Butch Harmon. This is the second time that Butch has come on the show. Our last episode was in December 2021. So if you want to go back and listen to that episode, it was epic. It was filled with stories that even I haven't heard on other podcasts and other interviews, which was super cool. Butch's career and resume is so big that it needs no introduction, so I won't bore you with all the details. All of you know what he's accomplished and what he's done in our business. This was a fun episode where we discussed the upcoming Ryder Cup. We recorded this on Wednesday prior to the Ryder Cup. I'm sure this won't come out probably till afterwards. And we got his take on both teams and some really great intel on some of the players as he is currently helping a few on both sides of the ledger, which is Ricky Fowler. He said he's worked a little bit with Colin Morikawa and he works with Tommy Fleetwood. We also dug into his great work with Ricky Fowler as they reconnected in the last couple of years and how he helped him back to form, which has been great for the game and great for golf. And he shared a lot of cool details on what they worked on and how they did it. And then finally, I reached out to you, the listeners, for questions, and I appreciate all the great ones that I received. And he answered them all with loads of great insight and some cool stories as only Butch can deliver. It's always an honor to spend time with Butch as I'm grateful for his friendship and guidance over the years. So let's get to this awesome conversation with the great Butch Harmon. Enjoy. So, Mr. Harmon, welcome back to the show, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. You were on December 2021. It's like time flies. I'm in a new job, and I'm sure you've got a lot to catch up on, and it's just always great to talk to you. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Great to be with you, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so being that it's Wednesday of the Ryder Cup week, I thought we would start there because, I know you've got a special student on the team that we'll kind of get into later, but what are your thoughts on this year's Ryder Cup? Like, let's start with the captain's picks. Were there any odd decisions you thought that were made, and kind of what's your take on it?
I think if you look at the last pick, Sam Burns over Keegan Bradley, was one that I thought could go either way, to be honest with you. I think either one of them would have been good. And as you know, match play and especially Ryder Cups come down to putting. It's all who's the best putter, and I think Burns was probably considered a better putter than Keegan was, and I think that's probably why I picked him. Other than that, I think in looking at the picks, obviously you're always going to pick Ricky Fowler. He's great with the team. You look at Koepka, he was a lock. Morikawa, how are you going to keep him off? Jordan, I think Justin Thomas might have been an iffy one to a lot of people, but he has such a great Ryder Cup record. I don't think you can keep him off either. So I think they did a good job. I think the thing that for your viewers to listen to and watch is that just because there's a lot of guys on this European team you've never heard of, they're really good.
Yeah.
And we haven't won in 30 years over there. So they're good over 50,000 people. So now I was doing some looking at things for top 10 players in the world. U.S. has 5, Europe has 5. That's pretty close. Major champions, Europe has 5, U.S. has 6. So they're pretty close. I mean, so the teams are very evenly matched. I think a lot of things that your viewers may not understand, Jason, is that people say, why have the Europeans been so much better than we have in the Ryder Cup when we look stronger on paper? The PGA Tour does not own the Ryder Cup. PGA of America owns it. So the PGA Tour doesn't garner anything from that financially, or they may get something, but not a lot. The European Tour owns the Ryder Cup on European side. So it's everything to them because they can finance their lower end tournaments with the tens of millions of dollars they make off the Ryder Cup. And so the players are a little more invested in it than, say, our players. Look, our players want to win. They don't like losing. But at the end of the day, we gave it all, we move on. The European players, no, they need this. This is part of it. I know this is the first time in 26 years I haven't been doing the Ryder Cup for Sky Sports in Europe because I've done the last 13. But at my age, at 80, I just didn't feel traveling that far to go to Rome and the hassle of it, so I opted out this year. But, I mean, I've interviewed every one of these guys on the European Ryder Cup team on television, and they all to one will say the same thing. I said, would you rather win the Ryder Cup or win a major? And each one of them says, no, I'd rather win the Ryder Cup. And off camera, Jason, I will say to them, come on now, that's a bunch of BS. I know you'd like to have that green jacket at the Masters. They said, yeah, I would, but this is important to our tour. We need this. So they are really invested in it as a group. And it's not to put our guys down, because believe it, they don't like getting their butts kicked. And as I said earlier, we have one over there in 30 years. So we better get our heads out of Europe this week, or we're going to be in trouble again.
For sure. Yeah, I think our only question, I guess, just playing devil's advocate on our picks, is JT coming in with not great form. Obviously, he struggled this year. And the whole reason we went to 6 picks was like find that guy that's kind of hot coming in. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays. And obviously not the greatest putter on our team, but has the Ryder Cup record, right? I mean, that's the thing is like, is it record or is it like coming in with good form?
I think he played well in the last tournament. He showed more form, that's for sure. I think he and Spieth are such a great combo. The one thing I've learned through the years of working for international television is we always have a former Ryder Cup captain on our broadcast. And I always ask them, how do you pair your guys together? Because, the U.S. would like to put a long hitter with a straight hitter and so on and so forth. They use the same balls and all this. No, the European captains say to every one of them, we want to put personalities that get along together. Because at some point in time out there, something bad's going to happen. And if you got 2 guys that really get along well together, it's no big deal. Go back to Detroit when Sutton paired Mickelson and Woods together. They weren't even talking to each other. It was a terrible pairing. And they got beat twice. So I think that's important. And I think that entered into Zach's feeling and the other assistant captains that were helping him on putting JT on there, because he and Spieth are such a good team together. They get along so well together. And I think that's important.
Yeah, I mean, the other side can say the same thing about not putting Adrian Moronk on there, right? I mean, that guy's a beast. And he had just as much of a case as Keegan or, Cam Young or whoever, even Lucas Glover, right? I mean, guys that were coming in kind of hot, that would have been interesting to see. But, yeah, there's always going to be some controversy on the picks.
I was shocked they didn't put him on the team. Shocked.
Oh, that guy's so good.
This kid is good. Don't get me wrong. This kid's never even played in a major championship as a pro. And you're going to put him right in the middle of a Ryder Cup. But, I mean, Luke knew what he was doing. He's the hot hand. The kid's playing good. But we'll see. This is going to be an interesting thing. We'll see if the kids, I would imagine he'd start him on Friday morning in alternate shots just to get his feet wet. And then we'll see if he can handle the pressure or not. But that was a very controversial pick. I guarantee you that.
Because he flipped it, right? Didn't Luke switch to 4-ball instead of foursomes? Like normally we go the opposite way, right?
Yeah, they go.
He has that opportunity
first. Yeah.
Yeah. So just based on the stats, right? It's like I'm watching the coverage and kind of seeing, like, I mean, how many players did you coach on the Ryder Cup over the years? You know?
Oh my God, so many on both teams. This year I've got guys on both teams. I got Ricky on this and Tommy Fleetwood on the other.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot you were working with Tommy.
A couple weeks ago, I've done some work with him. So I've got guys on both teams. So, and I've done that in the past when I worked with Darren and the guys. So that, it just is what it is. And our job is just all the time. And you've heard me say this before. I think when a coach gets too much credit when a guy plays good and too much criticism when he plays poorly.
Right.
Because our job is just to prepare the guy to go play, and then they have to go play. And so it'll be interesting to see. I said to Tommy the other day when we were texting back and forth, good luck. I hope you win all your matches, just not against any of my players.
Yeah. That was what I was curious about, is like when you were out, at the Ryder Cups, when you're on the road, is like, how difficult is it to coach guys on both sides? Because I know you were doing it.
It wasn't that hard. I mean,
just do your job, right?
My job is to get the guys ready to play. There's a funny story years ago at RTJ when the President's Cup first got started, and I was helping Freddie. And I was walking by on the range, and, Freddie's back was bad. And Vijay Singh, being Vijay, says, you better tell that guy down there you're going to see to get that wheelchair ready on about the 14th hole when he has to take that wheelchair in when I beat the heck out of him. So I couldn't get to Freddie fast enough. And I said to Freddie, now, you won't believe what Vijay just said. And he said, oh, he did he? Well, Freddie won the match, and he looked at Vijay and said, you got your wheelchair?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that's the thing, is like you see, I don't know if you've watched the coverage this week. I'm sure you have. Like I have, some of these guys need to be careful what they ask for, right? So our boy Wyndham Clark has been running his mouth a little bit, and then he said something else today. Did you hear it?
I did not hear it today. I've been working all day. I just now got finished.
Today, the other day on some podcaster interview, he said he wanted Rory, right? So that's dangerous.
Yeah, you remember when there's been some guys that said that about Tiger Woods too. Stephen Ames learned that lesson in the match.
Yeah, he did.
So I probably are getting Tiger Woods at the right time because he's not driving it very good. And Tiger won the first 9 holes in a row, and he beat him 9 and 8, and he was mad that he didn't win the 10th hole because he won beat him 10 and 8.
I know, that was ridiculous. Yeah. So today,
what's the old adage? Don't poke the bear while he's sleeping, because if he wakes up, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, he said something about the guys playing, or the European guys playing in the last tournament, and how they might be out of gas by Sunday because they're not in good shape. I'm like,
and hey, look, they've played 3 Italian Opens on this course. We haven't played at all. We're playing this week. Our guys, they flew over there once and played a couple of days, but these guys, and it's a very quirky course if you've looked at it. And talking to the guys, they say it's strange. It's a funky course, a lot of dog legs. Yeah. You got a bunch of holes you can drive. The rough is
16.
very high. I mean, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a very competitive Ryder Cup.
Yeah, and how important is it to be the home team? 1, the crowd, and then 2, you get to set the golf course up. And I think they just killed us last time with the way they set it up, obviously.
Last time, how about for 30 years?
I know. It's like the more
all the great players we have sent over to Europe to play in the Ryder Cup, and we haven't won one in 30 years. That is really
1993.
These guys
insane.
On our team, and I know this for a fact, they're using this for motivation. This is because they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose at all. They want to continue and be themselves and say, let's get back on the winner's side and figure this out. And you know where it goes when it comes back to the States, don't you?
I can't remember.
Bethpage Black.
Bethpage, that's right.
The Ryder Cup and that New York crowd. Remember what they did to Sergio there with the re-grip during the US Open? That could get hostile.
Yeah, Europe, at least they have like dedicated chants and songs. We just beat the shit out of everybody. And just,
yes,
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's like our home crowd's just like, just razz them and like just get in there under the skin.
You're hearing the ole, ole, ole. I guarantee you. There's going to be 50,000 people a day out there. You're going to hear it a lot come this weekend.
Oh, my gosh. Who do you think's going to surprise you if you had to predict, like, on our team this year?
Well, if I look at the teams, I would have to say Brooks, as tough a competitor as he is, because, he's been over on the other tour and Liv hasn't played. I think he's going to be a big part of it because he's like Tiger. And he wants to beat you. He wants to beat your whole family. I mean, he is one fierce competitor. I think you're going to see a few different teams. Scotty Scheffler's number one in the world. How's he going to play? I saw he's hired Phil Kenyon as a putting coach. He's been working a lot with him this week, so we'll see how that works out. Mm-hmm. I think on their team, if I had to pick one, I think it'd be Victor Hovland. That guy has been so consistent. It's unbelievable how good. And that's not a put down to Rory. Don't get me wrong. But if you look at him, of the top 5 in the world, 3 of them are European. You got Rory, Rahm, and Hovland are 2, 3, and 4. And Rahm, we know, is a fierce competitor. And so, but I just think there's something about Hovland. I think he's grown up this year. I mean, this guy is unbelievable how good he is. I thought when he came out of college, to be honest with you, he was going to be the best one. But Morikawa went on and won 2 majors, so that took care of that argument right there.
Right.
And I think you'll probably see Ricky and Morikawa play at least the first round in alternate shots. The way Ricky was explaining it to me, I think they're looking forward to that because that's 2 good players, 2 good putters playing together. Well, look, match play is all about putting. It literally is. And the Ryder Cup is even more so about putting. The Europeans have won more of these Ryder Cups in the last 30 years by out-putting us. I mean, just look at Ian Poulter. This guy's made everything he looks at. Go back to Colin Montgomery, who never won a major in the U.S. He was leading money winner, or never won a major, period. Leading money winner for 7 years in a row. Wasn't a good putter. Puts his tail off in the Ryder Cup. And so you ask him, why does that happen? He goes, well, I have a partner. So I don't have to worry about putting the next one. I'm just trying to make this one, and my partner will pick up the slack. So I think it's not that we get outplayed. We have been outputted. Now, Whistling Straits, we just killed them. There was no contest.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be the case this week for either team.
Yeah, I think Brian Harmon could be a big factor. Another sleeper. He's a dog.
Brian Harmon is a huge dog, and he's a little bitty guy who they don't take seriously.
Great putter.
He showed him what a great putter he was in the Open Championship when he won. Yeah, I think Brian's going to be good this week. I think he's really going to be good.
Yeah, it looks like Scotty and Koepka could be a pairing. They were kind of, everybody assumes, right, with just who they played together with in practice rounds. But
I mean, we know that Schauffele and Cantley are going to be partners. They're a dynamic duo. They get along great. I know Ricky and Morikawa are thinking of playing a lot. I think Ricky and Harmon may play some and talking to Rick about it. And, when you go into this thing right now, they have an idea who they're going to put there. Each team does. But that changes. You can get steamrolled in the first round, and all of a sudden somebody doesn't play good, and that throws a wrench into your whole way you're trying to do it, and then you got to come up with something new. So both of these captains have played in a lot of Ryder Cups. They know what they're doing. They have good vice captains. So I think they're ready for anything that happens. I think they got a plan B, plan C, plan D, and a plan what the heck we're going to do. So I think that's the way we set up in these things.
So you want to throw out a prediction? This thing will probably come out a little after the deal, but
I certainly hope that it's not a tie like the Solheim Cup was.
I know. I saw your post on Instagram. How do we not have a tiebreaker?
How can you play? How can you play 5 matches for 3 days and nobody wins? This isn't cricket.
That's bull.
This isn't a cricket match where they play for a week and nobody wins. This is golf, for God's sake. Every major championship starts with 144, 152, whatever the number is. They play 72 holes. And if they're tied, they have a playoff. And they have a playoff way of doing it. I mean, have each team put a name in an envelope and say, if it's a tie, these are the 2 that are going to play off. So then there's nobody saying, well, you're picking this one against that when you've already predetermined who it is, and play off. I mean, that's why I said I started to say in my internet post when I said somebody's got to win, and this is bullshit that nobody won, but I figure I better not put that in there. I'm not.
That's all right.
I mean, it was a fascinating match.
Yeah, remember when Ernie and Tiger played off in the President's Cup? That's what we need to do, right?
Did. In South Africa, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they both hold the putts in the dark. I mean, that's when they finally called it off, but at least they played off.
Right.
I don't get it. I really don't know how you can have anything and not have a winner. What's the sense of having it if nobody wins? And in watching the Solheim Cup, and Suzanne is a wonderful friend of mine. I worked with her for years. I was a little upset of the big celebration when Carlotta birdied those 16 and 17, two phenomenal shots, knocked it stiff to tie the cup, and they went crazy. They're all over the green, and the last group standing on the tee is a par 3. They're trying to play, and that was if
another brick line.
That match, it's a tie, which she did, and they couldn't even play because they're celebrating like they won something. No, you didn't win anything. Yeah, you tied, you kept the cup, but you didn't win. I don't know. They got to change that as far as I'm concerned. There's got to be a way.
I totally agree.
And I love the Ryder Cup. It's my favorite event. There's nothing like it. The head-to-head, the years and years of hard feelings with some of the players that come out. There's a lot of gamesmanship involved in it. The President's Cup's like an exhibition. Nobody really cares. I mean, you got more people on the International President Cup team living in Florida than on the U.S. team. So it's not like these guys don't know each other.
Right.
But I kind of like the gamesmanship that goes on in the Ryder Cup. I like the way certain guys who don't get along, the beauty was the Seve and Ali matches against Raymond and Freddie. Because Raymond was one tough son of a bitch, as you well know. Yeah. And every time Seve would start to pull his shit, Raymond would just go, is that the way it's going to be now? Because both of us can play this game now. You got to clear your throat. I got some lozenges in my bag for you, because he was always going running your downswing and stuff. And Seve had a way of always wearing white shoes. And if you teed off on the right side of the tee, he was pretty close to the tee marker, so you could see it in your peripheral vision. And just as you'd start down, he'd start walking because those white shoes.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah. So
unbelievable.
To me, that's what match play is. There's a lot of gamesmanship in match play, even in your club championships, even in member guests. There's, you think about member guests at your clubs or ones you played in. I like playing in them. And you get a guy's got a 2-footer and he's looking at you. Are you going to give me this? Well, then believe me, you're putting it. You're looking to have somebody give it to you. You're putting that son of a bitch. And I get a kick out of guys that get upset when they make them putt a short putt. Well, to win the Masters, the U.S. Open, and the Open Championship, PGA, you got to hold them out, don't you? I mean,
absolutely, yeah, that's awesome. It's gonna be fun.
There were some very interesting gimmies in that Solheim Cup that I think I would have made some of those girls putt, and they were giving them to each other. So I mean, I didn't understand that either.
It's. And how we're going to watch it? That starts at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, for us, it's about
a little earlier for you.
Here.
Yeah,
we're
a little bit earlier.
9 hours different. Well, I'll be up Thursday night. I'll be up all night watching it. I guarantee you that. I'm leaving
there you go.
Friday morning about 11. We're going to D.C. Christy and I have spent time with our son for a week in D.C. And Cole doesn't even have TV in his place. I said, that's all right. You got a computer. You won't be using it. I'll be on it.
I was going to say, how are you going to keep up with it? Yeah, there you go.
I'm keeping up with it. You bet on that.
I love it. All right, so let's talk about Ricky. Obviously incredible turnaround, great for golf. And so talk a little bit about like when you guys reunited, like what was that conversation like? And then if you don't mind sharing, like what you guys worked on.
Back towards the end of September last year, he called me on the phone. We talked for a few minutes, and then he said, hey, he says, I'm lost. He says, any way you could help me? I said, Rick, I've been waiting for you to call, waiting for this call. You know I love you like a brother. I said, I'm more than happy to do anything you want. And the interesting thing about it, Jason, is we didn't see each other to do this. We were doing it with video, and the beauty of it is that the medalist for Ricky Plays, my brother Craig is a member there. Craig was a pro at Oak Hill for 42 years. Yep. He's a hell of a teacher. So Craig became my eyes on the range. And I would talk to him beforehand. I said, okay, this is what we're working on. We're going to change the plane of the swing. It's too flat. He's not making enough hip turn going back. That's why the club's so laid off, because if you turn your hips, then the club goes right back down the line again. And so we did it all with video. And Craig standing there, then I talked to him on the phone. I said, yeah, I like that. But we got to change this a little bit. And we probably only saw each other since then maybe 5 times in person. We've done most of it on video. like that because it's so easy now. You just send me a video, I pick up the phone and say, yeah, I like that, and I'll work on this. But Craig, at the start, my brother Craig was a huge help because he was my eyes for me on the range when we did the big work, trying to, because the plane had got left arm across the chest too much. I wanted to elevate the plane. When we got it elevated, the club was still a little laid off because he was turning his shoulders, but not a lot of hip turn. And once he turned the hips more, the club went right down the line. And I think right now he swings better than he's ever swung. And he'd be the first to tell you.
I agree. Yeah, that was the clear difference. I mean, just looking at, visually was the difference at the top, right?
Usually in my stuff, because I'm a great believer in never taking away what you do naturally, just making it better. I don't really believe in reworking a swing. I would say the only two guys I've had success with that look alike are Tiger and Adam Scott. Well, when Adam Scott was a freshman at UNLV and he came to me, that's how he swung, because he and his dad had worked out to copy Tiger Woods' swing. So I had seen that before. But all the other guys, they have their own swing, and I don't try and change that. I just try and make it better. And so Ricky and I had been together and had a good run from 13 through 19. And then when I retired from going to tournaments, he wanted someone else to work with him, which was fine. I didn't have a problem with that. And most of the guys still just came to Vegas and see me, and we do it through videos. But since he's been back, it's been impressive. I mean, he has played really well. I knew the last round of the U.S. Open was going to be a little difficult for him because he hadn't been in that position in years. Mm-hmm. And so I knew that the anxiety of it was going to be, you could see it right off the first tee. Change of direction was a little quick. He lost the ball to the right. But having said that, you can't take it away from Wyndham Clark. Wyndham Clark played beautiful golf. And every time it looked like Wyndham was going to make a bogey, he'd hole a putt. Or if he looked like he was going to make a double bogey, he'd hole a putt. And that's what you have to do to win. But I think that tournament alone gave Ricky the confidence that, wow, I really am back. I'm back in a good spot. I'll tell you this. My brother Craig and I was in Florida last week doing a photo shoot with Ricky for cover for Golf Digest in November. And we played at the Medalist with him, which is where he played, which is a very hard golf course. We told him, okay, we got a new game for you today, Ricky. We're going to make you come all the way forward to the way forward tees, because I'm 80 and Craig's 77. And you're going to play from where we play from. And you have to hit a driver. And, I mean, these are holes. He has no idea where he's going. He's hitting it over the top of trees. He's hitting it over the top of other fairways. The only hole he didn't have, you ever played the Medalist?
No, I have not.
It's a hard course. 11th hole is a short dog leg to the left. You can drive it over the trees. But he could hit an iron on the green. So that was the only hole he didn't hit driver on. He made 14 birdies and 4 bogeys. So that game didn't work out too good for us.
Yeah, I saw that was actually on my list. I saw that post and I'm like, I need to ask you about that because it's such a great exercise I give to my juniors, like play the red tees.
Yeah.
See what you can shoot, right? But that's not that easy.
No.
Like the lines are different.
Putts, and the key is you got to drive it in the fairway because from way up there, it's hard to drive in the fairway. They hit it so far.
Right.
Guys. And
that's incredible.
That was what was so fun. And the method to our madness was I was hoping he would play well and make a lot of birdies because I wanted him to leave on a plus note about, and he putts so good. My God, every putt was going in. They'd have gone into the thimble. He was putting so good. But 14 birdies in 15 holes, I don't care.
What changed with his putting? Because even when in his slump, his putter started to get a little wonky. Was that just because the ball striking got bad and put too much pressure on it? Yeah, just kind of like leaked into the rest of his game.
All the 10 and 12 and 15 footers you had for birdies were now for pars. Yeah. They put too much pressure on it. And ever since he switched that putter that he's using now, and Wyndham uses that putter, Keegan uses that, a whole bunch of them are using that putter. And it rolls the ball beautifully for him compared to what he was doing. It just gave him confidence again. And man, he puts lights out.
That's so cool. And
he's good for the game. You said it earlier when Ricky
100%.
Fowler's back to being Ricky. He's great for the game. That's why he was always going to be a pick, because you can play him with anybody. I mean, this kid will not say a bad word about anyone. You can bring up somebody who you may think is a total a-hole or something. He goes, well, no, he's not that bad a guy. I've played with him. I always see that.
I can see that.
Like everybody.
Right. So get like a little bit more specific, like why that backswing change, like what dynamically did that improve his ball striking? Like, what made you go that direction? I mean,
the plane of the swing got so flat. And when he started down, the club was so far behind him. And he was always trying to catch up. And everything was predicated on timing. When timing was okay, he could hit it good. But when the timing got off, he had a two-way miss. he just started hitting the ball both sides, especially with the driver, and he just couldn't find the fairway. I mean, it was brutal how he hit it. And I think the thing that made him feel so good about it is when we made the changes at the end of last year, he instantly played good. He went to Napa and finished sixth with a brand new golf swing. He then went to Japan and almost won Zozo, lost by a shot into Keegan. And if he had made any putts on the back nine, he'd have won that. So that instantly gave him the confidence, Jason, that he was doing the right things. Because as you know, because you coach a lot of good players, how they hit it on the range or in the studio in a practice round doesn't mean a damn thing. You got to be able to make it on Sunday afternoon when you're coming down the stretch and you got a chance. That's when you find out if you're doing the right things. And he found out early with those two finishes, wow, I really am back on track. I really am doing the things that I want to do. And that was a huge asset for him, just for self-belief, to be honest with you.
Did you do any downswing work with him at all? Or was it just
once we got the club right, the club got back in front of him coming down, and then we worked on a little bit of an extension move there. And he had a thought in his mind, because if you lay the club off, you're kind of this way. And he would say, well, I'm just going to take the club across the line at the top.
Perfect.
He did.
Yeah.
That was
exaggerated.
He said it was like a steering wheel. He said, I'm going to turn it this way instead of that way. And that was his feeling. Because as you know, feel and real aren't always the same thing, but you need some kind of feeling in the motion. But in all honesty, once the club got better up here, the rest of it got easy. Because then he could go back to his natural feels. And he likes to move the ball both ways. And he's able to do that now.
Yeah, that's the fun ones, isn't it? Like when if you can make a backswing change and it kind of fixes a lot of other stuff, then it's not as hard.
Stuff you don't even have to think about.
Right. Yeah. So cool. Thank you for sharing that.
It's no problem.
Because I texted you right after he won, and I was just like, dude, I mean,
you were one of the first. I know. I think you texted me when the putt went in on the 7th.
Yeah, I was like so excited for both of you because I wanted him to win, and I thought it was just such a cool thing to see.
Thank you.
The quick, the quick transformation. That's awesome. All right, so a couple of random questions, and then we'll get into some. I reached out to Instagram and the internet, and to all our listeners and fellow coaches that wanted to ask you questions. Sure, so we'll go through some of those, which will be fun. But I had a couple just from my perspective on your career. As you know, it's unbelievable the legacy that you've created with. What I always wanted to ask you is, would you have changed anything in your career, and do you have any regrets? I
would say the toughest day on the course for me was the Masters in '96 when Greg had a 6-shot lead, and he blew it. In essence, that's what happened. And I was very hard on myself that I missed something and something I didn't see because he played so well the first 3 rounds. And quite honestly, the Greg that showed up on Sunday was not the Greg that left on Saturday. So I've never asked him what transpired or what changed his demeanor on how he was, but something happened that got him in a frame of mind that wasn't about golf. And I'm not going to go into that because it's a personal thing, but I think that to me was something that I would say in all my years of teaching great players, that was the longest day I've ever had on a golf course because it was hard to watch and you could see it fall apart. You could just see it and you're just shaking your head and shaking your head and shaking your head. But other than that, and I was hard on myself. Like, did I miss something Saturday? Is it because we would go hit balls, even though he was leading by 6, we still went to the range because he used to like to unwind and stuff, and he was swinging so good that I didn't see anything. And then came it. It started on the 8th hole. Tried to go for the green in 2 and hooked it down in the trees and got lucky and made par. Drove it to the bottom of the hill on 9 to a front pin. Where's the only place you can't go? You can't leave it short and spin it back down the hill. He did that. That was a mental mistake. 10, he hit a pretty good shot to the 10th green. Pin was in the left. Just missed the green to the left, kind of chunked the chip. 11, he righted the ship. He had a perfect drive, and he hit a perfect second shot. They had a new Sunday pin there. They kind of had it up in the front left over there by the
I remember.
And he hit it like 6 feet to the right of the hole. But if he makes that putt, he stops the bleeding, and I think mentally he goes on. Well, he 3-putted. He power lifted out of the hole. He just hit it 2. I went down and missed the little one. And then he hits it in the water in 12, and it was just one thing after another. And it was, did I feel like it was my fault? I did. I felt like, did I miss something? But since talking to him, when he explained to me the situation, of which I'm not going to go into, it was a little different scenario. Other than that, I don't think so. You know, I learned from my dad that we never try and take what somebody does naturally. We just try and make it better because their natural swing is always going to be there. I don't believe in a total revamp. completely changing your swing to make you a different player, because how you swing is how you swing. There's changes we can put in the position of the club at the top, maybe the way you get there, how you start your downswing, so on and so forth, the way the club exits. You can talk about that, but you want to leave the natural motion in there. And I've always tried to do that. I think in my case, and I can't tell you why, I have a good eye. I see, like when I see a guy swing, I see about 30 or 40 things at one time. I see all kinds of different planes and hand positions and stuff like that. And to me, when I see the swing, whatever the cancer is, and it jumps out at me, I just see it. And I can't really tell you why I do that. I guess God gave me a good eye. My dad was the best in the world at it. I never saw anybody as good as he was. I'm pretty good, but I wasn't near as good as my dad was at it. He was amazing. 2 swings, he had you. And I've always had that gift that I can see things. And I think the other thing is that we were taught you have 2 choices. You can teach golf to people or people to play golf. And we Harmons like to think we're trying to teach you to play golf, not making a good swing on the range. I don't give a damn about that. We got to be able to play golf. And I think that's always been a great asset of mine. And then when you look at who our dad was and how good he was, well, I think he's the greatest teacher that ever lived, along with a great player being a Masters champion. We saw the best at a young age. And we saw all this without video equipment, without launch monitors, without analytics. We didn't need any of that crap. We saw a guy who could do it the way he did it. And that's how we were taught. The 2 biggest influences in my teaching in my life are my father, number 1, and the great John Jacobs, number 2. And both of them were very simple: club path and face, angle and impact. And the ball pretty much tells you everything. Where the ball starts, the shape of the shot, the spin of the ball, the trajectory pretty much tells you the path of the downswing and the club face angle and impact. You don't need a camera to tell you that. You don't need a launch. I don't need a launch monitor to tell me that you're spinning the damn ball too much. Yeah, I can see it. I can see you're spinning it too much. How do we change that? So I think having learned at such a young age what to look for in golf swings and be around my dad with all the great players that he played with and that he helped, I think it made myself and my 3, Craig, Dick, and Billy, my 3 younger brothers, made us all such phenomenal teachers because we had a chance to watch the best. And then the last thing is Dad taught us that less is more. The less you can say, the more they're going to get out of the lesson. And he also taught us to teach at the 2nd grade level. So a kid in the 2nd grade can understand what you're talking about. I hear these young guys on YouTube and stuff. Now, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. And I don't know how a 15 handicap can get anything out of it, because I think I know the golf swing pretty good. And I have no idea what these people are talking about, because they tell guys 4 or 5 things to do. No, pick out the one thing that's wrong and fix it. And don't get off of it until you fix it. And like you said earlier, once you fix the main thing, I call it the cancer in the swing, 4 or 5 other things just fall right into place. It's why once we got Ricky in the right position here for how his grip was and everything, the rest of it got a lot easier coming down. But nowadays, I listen to guys, I mean, and I'm sure you're the same way. And I've listened to your stuff before, and you're like me, we're just simple. It's the golf ball pretty much tells us. And the golf ball tells you whether you're doing it right or wrong. It doesn't take a genius.
The more you learn, the less you share with the student, because you know how much it's going to confuse them, right?
The less you can say, the more they're going to get out of it.
So what do you, if your dad and John Jacobs were alive right now, what do you think they would say about your accomplishments in your career?
Well, I think they'd be very proud of me. Mr. Jacobs was a dear friend of mine. When he passed away, I literally flew all the way to London to speak at his memorial service. And I did that just because of him. I just wanted to be there to speak to him. I can tell you, I won an award years ago by the European Golf Writers Association, and it was given to me at the Open at Muirfield, actually the one that Phil won, that I had a lot to do with. And John health was bad, but he drove all the way up to Scotland, had somebody drive him up so he could present the award to me. That's how
awesome.
Much he meant to me and how much I meant to him. And so I think they'd be very proud of what I've done. I mean, I give them all the credit, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't know what I know, because they got me on the right track. And then you got to be able to put your own take on it. You have to be able to. What I try and tell people when I do seminars for the PGA at different sections, I said, look, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you can't communicate it, if you don't have communication skills, nobody's going to know who the hell you are. Yeah. You know, you got to be able to communicate the message. And the message cannot be complicated. Golf is hard, but it's not as hard as some instructors make it. When I listen to them talk, when they're giving a guy 5 thoughts on the waggle, you got no chance.
Yeah, that was like my follow-up was like, how do you feel like we're doing as instructors nowadays and the young instructors? But I think you've kind of answered it as like, you've got to learn to not so much dumb it down, right? But I mean, know your student and then be able to communicate with that player because everybody's different. Their personalities are different. They're different occupations. We've talked about this in the past. It's, being able to read the room, right?
Well, my big thing is to tell these young guys, think outside the box. Don't be a follower. Be an individual. Be your own person. Use your thoughts and your knowledge, but think outside the box. Don't get in this small box that a lot of them are in, where everybody do the same thing and everybody do this and everybody do that. Doesn't work. We're all built differently. I mean, I've been using this line ever since I watched Top Gun Maverick when he said to these guys, "Don't think, just do." And it's a great line for golf. Don't think, damn it, just do. Don't just see the shot and hit the shot. Don't think about how you're going to do it. And when he was talking to these guys flying these jets, I just said, wow, that's a great way to talk about a golf swing with a good player. Damn it, don't think about it, just do it. You know how to do it. And I'll give you an example of that. In 1995, when Sebi hired me, he had been, for some reason, someone had got him talked in to go and see Mac O'Grady. Now, here's the greatest field play in the world, going to see a by-the-numbers teacher. And Mac was a genius. But, I mean, for Sebi Ballesteros to try that shit was beyond belief. So they hired me. He came to see me in Houston. And then I flew over to Spain, and I stayed with him for 2 weeks in his house. And he was just trying to do all his position. I said, Sebi, hold on a minute. Let me explain something to you. You and Jose Maria, when you hit it out in the crap, you see stuff we don't see. You see a little opening in the top of the trees, and you think, 6-iron trajectory, and I got to turn it a little left to right, a little right to left. And then you get in there, and if you watched him, he was always looking at where he was going. And boom, he'd hit a perfect shot every time. Why? Because he never thought about what the hell he was going to do. And so the first day we worked over there in Pedreña at his little course, the range was too small, so we'd go out on the courts with the guys shagging balls, and he's hitting it all over the place, and he's not really getting some of the things I want him to do. I said, all right, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to walk out here 20 yards in front of you. You got a fiver. I'm going to tell you what shots to hit around me. No, Bush, don't go out there. I kill you. Please, I'm cleaning it up today. He said, no, Bush, I kill you. You can't stand there. I said, I'm going to stand here. So you're going to have to I said, all right, I want you to hit a nice draw around me. How you want me to hit it? I said, shit, you're Sebi Ballesteros. Just hit a draw. Perfect shot. Right to the caddy. High fade. I said, hey, one right over the top of my head. Boom, right over the top of my head, right to the caddy. I walked away, and the balls were going all over the place. I said, see, damn it, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Quit thinking about how you're doing it and just freaking do it. You're the most creative player I'd ever seen play. He had beautiful hands. He had vision, and he was trying to swing by the number. And it was a joke. And 3 or 4 weeks later, he won the Spanish Open again. So, I mean, that was a joy. But I was scared to death.
I can pick better people to do that drill with.
I think I probably gave it a little flinch on that one.
Because he told you drives are good, right? We know that's not true. He's like, Butch, I drive it good.
About that one. We were sitting in his club room in his house, and it was 2 a.m, and our wives had gone to bed, and I looked on the floor, and there was 6 Riaka empty bottles of wine we'd been drinking and talking and telling stories. And as you know, when you win a tournament with a pink putter, now they all give them to you, but they give you a gold-plated putter. Well, hell, I thought I was sitting in Fort Knox. There were so many of these gold. There was 2 racks of them from all the
answers
he had won. And so I said to him, Sebi, you really weren't that great a driver. So don't be beaten. He said, don't tell me I'm not a good driver. I drive the ball good, Butch. I said, no, you don't drive the ball good. I said, you won the Open at Elizabeth St. Anne's on the 16th hole. You hit it in the car park to the right. They had to move cars. Yeah, I made birdie, but I made birdie on the hole. I said, yeah, you did, but they moved 6 cars, so you had a shot.
Exactly.
I said, look, driving has never been your strength. So I'm going to get you where you can find the fairway. Don't worry about it.
This episode of the Golf Guru Show is brought to you by our new partners, Istruzi. Listen up, coaches. What I'm about to share is different than what you've come to expect from the guru. Normally, I'm the one asking the perfect questions to tease out the secrets, tips, and lessons learned from the best and brightest in our industry has to offer. This time around, I want to share some perspective. You know you're a business owner, right? You're a solopreneur. You're the founder, CEO, admin, sales, and marketing department. Like you, I often daydream about a world where these no longer consume our valuable time and energy. All of this takes us away from high-value time in the lab developing our players. If some days you feel like Bill Murray from Groundhog Day and your business is slowly sending you into an early grave, well, thankfully, I can say from personal experience, relief is only 5 minutes away. And I know you have 5 minutes. Coaches, if you have a Gmail account, an iPhone or an iPad, have your own LLC, constantly switch between 4 to 5 different services to run your business, charge at least $70 per lesson, or deliver at least 15 hours of lessons per week, then pay close attention because I'm talking directly to you. Istruzi is a business management platform where you finally offload all those wasted hours in admin tasks and get back to doing what we love, coaching your players, nerding out on ball flight laws, and about a million other things you would prefer more. If your business would benefit from 37% net new revenue, Istruzi is for you. If you struggle to build accountability with your players and dream of staggering 71.4% swing analysis viewer rate, Istruzi is for you. If you want a platform that protects and amplifies the decades of experience instead of allowing players to window shop 5 different coaches only to choose the cheapest one or the cheapest option, Istruzi is for you. If you have no idea where to begin, Istruzi is for you. I personally have an account and can vouch for the value that Istruzi delivers. The download link is in the show notes, or head to istruzi.com to download the app. When you create your account, don't forget to add an asterisk to your last name so they know that the guru sent you. Go to istruzi.com today. All right, let's get into some listener questions. You ready?
I love it.
All right, so the first one's from our mutual buddy, guy that I've been working with the last couple of years, is William McGirt, PGA Tour. Yeah, and he loves you. So I was with him yesterday doing some work, and I told him you were coming on. And I said, "What would you ask him?" And he heard this story, and we'll see if it corroborates from your answer. But he said, "Who do you feel like you helped the most, and what was your most rewarding win?" And it was a guy that I hadn't, like last time we were on the show, I asked you about a lot of players, and I did not ask you about this guy. And he won a major championship, but we'll see what you say.
Well, Tiger's first win at Augusta, obviously, the way he won it was very special. I would say when Phil won the Open Championship in Muirfield, because he never thought he could win the Open Championship. And I had to have a similar conversation with him like I had with Seve to try and get him to take the damn ball out of the air because he's a high ball hitter and he wouldn't do it. And it took about 4 or 5 years. I finally got in his head. He went and won the Scottish, and then the last round at the British Open. To this day, he will tell you, not me, it's the best round of golf he ever played. Because the wind was blowing about 20, 25. He was 2 shots behind, I think, the lead. And the interesting story was on the driving range, we're there before the last round, and we're talking about it. And I said, let's see, Lee Westwood's winning. I said, he's not going to win. He's never won a major. And Lee's a great player, and I'm not knocking Lee.
Yeah.
Right in front of you, one shot in front of you is Adam Scott. I said, if you beat Adam Scott, you're going to win this tournament. He said, I'm going to beat them all. I don't give a damn who it is. Nobody's beating me today. The way I'm playing, nobody's going to beat me. Well, he wasn't lying. He went out and played a phenomenal round of golf.
Yeah.
The player I think I helped the most, that's an interesting one. I'm going to say probably Jimmy Walker.
That's
he came to me, he had never won a
Yeah.
tournament, and he won 6
That was
tournaments, and the last one he won was a major, and then the poor guy got Lyme disease, and he hasn't been the same since, which is a very sad story. But for me, that was something I was really proud of, because he had never won before on a tour, and he was kind of lost. And Jimmy's kind of an old school swinger, a lot of knee drive, the way he swings and stuff, and we had such a good run together. He won 6 times, and the last one was the PGA, which he led wire to wire, actually. I think for me, that was another one that I really liked, but I really felt like I helped him and turned his game around quite a bit.
Well, do you remember some of the specifics that you guys worked on? I'm always curious about that.
Well, he's old school, club behind him, coming down, very handsy player, always hit a big draw was what he saw. Had a lot of knee slide, reminded me of a modern day Byron Nelson type of swing where he kind of drove with his knees. I got him in better posture. He was kind of bent over, which caused a lot of that. I got him standing taller. He was a little narrow going back and at the top. And then when the club would drop down, he would back up and release it. He had good hand-eye coordination, but that's why he wasn't consistency. And I wanted him to go forward. I wanted him to feel like he put his chest on top of the ball so he could drive the right hip, right shoulder, right arm down the line. And man, he just started striping it. I mean, because he could hit it far anyway. And it's just sad what happened to him. I mean, my God, how unlucky is that? You go hunting with your buddies and a tick bites you or however the hell you get it. And he really hasn't been the same since.
He had a little resurgence there the last few years, but I mean, it's
still not 100% health-wise.
Right. Lyme disease is bad.
Another one that I think I helped a lot was Justin Leonard. Because Justin Leonard had a kind of a hangy swing, and yes, he won the Players. He won the Open Championship, a hell of a player. But when I go back and I look at the films of what I started with and what I changed, a lot of times with guys that I work with, you could see it because you have a good eye, but the average player couldn't really think he's swinging any different. And there may be 5 things different in that swing.
Right.
But in Justin's swing, you could really see the way I changed the way he turned his body going back to put him in a better position. I really enjoyed working with Justin. He's a really nice man. I thought he was going to win that Open at Hazeltine when he had the lead going the last round that one year when we were working together. But, that's golf. You can't win them all.
Right. Yeah. So for the listeners, you're just sort of describing he kind of got stacked on his left side. Do you think that
was kind of his way of playing? And then he was back
do you think that's influenced more by his environment, right? Playing in Texas or playing in the wind a lot, right? I see that a lot with players that kind of get, even at my place now down in Hilton Head, playing in a lot of wind, I got to get guys to get behind it a little bit more because you're going to hit knockdown shots are going to get on top of it a little bit too soon.
Well, I know for a fact when I used to have guys that would play 2 weeks in a row in Hawaii at Kapalua and then in the Sony, as soon as they came back, they're all hanging because they're playing in 25, 30-mile-an-hour wind. I think, whoa, boys, we got to get behind it. And I think one of the things that hurts the average person, and you deal with this on a daily basis like I do with average people, somebody keeps telling these people to keep their head still, and they're going to reverse it every time. Because their head and neck are attached to our shoulders, and if our shoulders turn, you can see my head even move back a little in. So it has to happen. It's not a shift. It's just a turning motion to let yourself get to. You got to remember that your weight always has got to go in the direction the club goes. If the club's going here, your weight's got to get into the inside part of that back leg. When you come down, your weight's got to go forward. The guys that were teaching stack and tilt, I'm not knocking them, telling them that it wasn't the right thing because it's probably okay for a short iron stuff, but you can't play that way. And we don't see guys doing that anymore, unfortunately, but because a lot of them aren't out anymore. And I think that's the hard thing. You can't teach a system, Jace. A system doesn't work because no two people are alike. In my 10 years with Tiger Woods, everybody who came to my golf school said, I want to swing like Tiger Woods. I go, yeah, no shit, so do I. But if we don't climb in his body, how the hell are we going to swing that way? How about we get the best out of you? I coined a phrase I used to say all the time. I said, look, I can't make a racehorse out of a mule, but I can damn sure make a racing mule. And so you're going to be a racing mule here because you ain't no thoroughbred. But I'm going to get the best out of you I can get.
I'm stealing that one.
Oh, you can have it, baby.
That's fantastic.
Just do. That's the best one.
Yeah, it is.
Tom Cruise was good enough for me.
All right. Second question from Larry Ward. Do elite players learn more from a coach, or does a coach learn more from an elite player?
I think it's a combination of both. I like to say all the time, for my 35 or 40 years that I've had success with tour players, I've learned as much from them as they've learned from me, and that's made me better at my job. Because then I can have these things to draw back on that I've seen great players do, and you see somebody do something from kind of a strange position, and he gets the club on the ball square at the time, and then you get somebody who's in that position they can't, and a light goes off in your brain, and you say, I remember seeing this, X, Y, Z. So I think it's a combination. I know short game-wise, I mean, when you think of how much time I've been around Seve, I've been around Jose Maria, how much time I've been around Phil, Greg's short game was phenomenal. Most of everything I taught to Tiger was stuff I learned from Greg, Jose Maria, and from Seve. Now, he had to put his own take on it. But the basics that I learned from them that I showed him is how he became, his short game was so good. Now, then he puts his own version of it on there. But we learn a lot from great players, just watching them.
Totally agree. That's a really good take. All right. Kyle Morris asks, what makes a great coach, seeing that not every coach is a great fit for every player?
Well, I think we're two things. We're instructors and we're coaches, and they're different. Teaching and coaching is two different. Teaching is the mechanics of a golf swing. Coaching is getting inside their heads and stuff. I've always had the ability to, and I can't even tell you how I do it, but I always have the ability to send my players to the first tee with a thought, X, Y, Z. And half the time I'm thinking about it while we're walking from the putting green to the tee. What the hell am I going to tell this?
It comes to you. Yeah.
And it just comes to me, and I tell them. And I think, Tiger and Ricky and some of the guys have said, they said, what's one of Butch's best assets? He said, even though if you're not playing good, when you go to the first tee, he has you believing that no one in the world can beat you. And
that's awesome.
Here's the strange thing about that, Jason. When I played the tour 69, 70, 71, I was a really good player, but I couldn't get out of my own way because I was such a hothead. I was such a perfectionist. If I didn't hit every shot perfectly, then I would blow up. And it kept me from being a good player, which is good because I've turned out okay as it is.
Yeah, I think you did okay.
But I wish I
would have listened
to my own bullshit because it would have really helped me.
But you were you're in a different place, you know?
I was definitely in a different place. You know that about that.
So is there
a place either?
Can you remember an example like where you said something to one of your players going to the first tee that like kind of came to life and they won a tournament? If there's anything,
when Tiger won his third amateur at the Pumpkin Ridge with Steve Scott. And I said this in a magazine, and it irritated Steve, and he actually wrote me a letter, and I didn't say it to irritate him. I was trying to think of something I could tell Tiger. You remember he was 5 down at the end of the first 18. Now, nobody's ever won 3 amateurs in a row. Nicklaus never did it. No one ever did. So he had a chance to do something he never did. And Steve Scott, who was a lovely young man and had his girlfriend caddying for him, who's now his wife, and she's a lovely lady. And when I tell this story, it's not to be derogatory towards him. I was just trying to get Tiger pumped up. And so I said to him as we're walking the first tee, I said, hey, Tig, I said, I don't know if you noticed it this morning, but every time Steve Scott made a putt and his girlfriend was smiling and kissing him and stuff, I don't know if it was pissing you off, but it was pissing me off. I said, well, you kick this guy's ass and wipe the smile off of her face. That's all I said. And I don't mean it in an ugly way to either one of them because they're two beautiful human beings, but that was just
I know him very well.
My Vince Lombardi moment. Well, you remember he birdies the 16th hole. Now he's 1 down. He's going to the 17th hole, which is the 35th hole, and he holed this 35-footer across the green and ran across the green with this big fist pump, and now they're all even going to the 36th hole, and he's walking down the hill, and I don't know he's walking behind me. And he walks behind me, and he slaps me in the rear end and says, she ain't smiling now, is she? I told that story, and they wrote an article on Golf Digest about it, and to Steve Scott's credit, I don't blame him, because I didn't mean it to be ugly to him. I was just trying to explain the terminology I use. I actually cleaned it up a little in the way I'm telling you. I just was explaining the terminology, and I wrote him back a letter. I said, I'm very sorry. I said, I did not mean to offend both of you. You're two wonderful young people, and I see them all the time at various places now at seminars, and we get along great, but I could see where that may have upset him, although I wasn't doing it to be mean. I was just trying to pump my guy up. I mean,
doing your job.
It must have worked.
Absolutely. Epic match, right? All right. So next question from Pete Popovich, one of my good buddies. What was the compelling moment or experience that led you to going all in on coaching?
Well, the fact that I wasn't good enough to continue to play. Even though
I knew that was coming.
What the hell else am I going to do? You know?
Yeah.
Although I've always loved to teach, even when I was a junior golfer, not knowing what the hell I was talking about, I thought I did. Because, I was always around my dad and always around great players. So I'd tell my buddies, you should do this or you should do that or stuff. So I've always loved every bit about it. Just a job when you start out. I mean, I'm not trying to be the best in the world at what I did. I always wanted to be the best I could be. That was my motivational factor. I wanted to always learn. My dad had a great line that says, it's what you learn after you think you know it at all is the most important thing. And I think it's been very true for me in teaching. I'm still not done learning. I'm still, at 80 years old, I'm still trying to learn more and still be better at my craft. And that's what always drove me. I've always been a workaholic. So the working part of it's easy, but I always wanted to get better. I just wanted to be the best I could be. Whatever that was going to be, that was going to be. But I had to be, for me, my motivation was just to get the best out of what I have. Whatever talent I have, I want to get the best out of it. And keep an open mind. As I said earlier, don't be afraid to think outside the box, but learn. I tell young guys, teachers, I said, the best thing you could ever do is go to a seminar from a guy you think is full of shit. That you can't believe this guy's accomplished what he's done because you disagree with everything he says. And somebody said to me, why would I want to do that? I said, because you're going to learn something there. You're going to hear something said, one or two things that you didn't know that's going to make you better at your craft. That's why you go. You don't have to believe everything the guy says. I don't think people have to believe everything I say when I do a seminar. They can say, well, I agree with that. I don't agree with that. That's fine. That's what makes the world go around. But go listen. Go hear what this guy has to say, because you think the reason, if you remember when I did that deal for Golf Digest, when I went and took a lesson from George Gankis.
That's right.
And that was my idea. I said to Golf Digest, I said, I see this guy's on Instagram and he's had a lot of success. I'd like to hear what he has to say. I've never met him. I said, how about we go down and I take a lesson from him? And so I go down that day, and George is great. He's a great self-promoter. He's done a great job with himself on Instagram.
Great guy.
It's kind of everybody do the same thing type of deal, but that's fine. He's made a nice living for himself. And, he's kind of a surfer dude. He's teaching in flip-flops and all this. Well, the day I show up on, he's got nice golf slacks on and shirt and golf shoes. I said, whoa, dude, who are you? I came down here to see George Gankis. Who the hell are you? You don't have any flip-flops on. So, well, no, you were coming. I had to dress up. But I enjoyed it a lot. I couldn't do what he tried to get me to do because my back wouldn't let me. But I wanted to hear it. I wanted to hear his spiel. I wanted to hear how he did it. He's had success with some players, and I just wanted to hear it. And I had a good time doing it. We had a good time. To this day, we text each other all the time, giving each other needles and harpoons. And, whether I agree with everything he does or whether he agrees with everything, it doesn't matter. We can listen to someone and you can learn from them. And that was the only reason I wanted to golf. I just thought I was crazy. So why would you want to give that guy publicity? I said, I just want to hear what he's got to say. I don't live down there. I said, let's go down there and they said, will you actually take a lesson from him? I said, yeah, I'll take a lesson from him. Shit, I ain't worth a damn. I'm old. I'll take anything I can. Now, I couldn't do it physically, do the stuff, without the guy on his knees turning me through the ball, but I don't think I could.
Jake the Snake was turning you through it.
Yeah, kneeling down, turning my hips out of the way. Because my left hip is blocked. I can't get it out of the way anyway. I said, I hit it perfect when the guy's down there going like that on my downswing.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I talk about that all the time on the show. Is like it's the best way to learn is go observe, but even a better way is like go take a lesson, right? I mean, you're in the students basically realm, and now you can learn something really.
I'll tell you something that my dad told all his assistants at Wingfoot, and even they told me this when I worked for him at Wingfoot. If you want to feel what your students are going through, the higher handicaps, and how they're struggling doing what you would like them to do, try and teach yourself to play left-handed. You'll see what they're going through. Because I can't chip out left-handed. I mean, I got the worst left hand. I hit the weak slice every time. I mean, it looks like a wounded flamingo coming in for a landing to the right. I mean, it's just awful trying to play it. But that's so true. Try and teach yourself how to hit a decent shot left-handed. Now you'll know what that 18 handicap's going through trying to listen to your BS, Butch. So he told me, okay,
that's great.
Give it a shot.
I love it. All right, next question from Steve Smalls. If you could make one skill proficiency a requirement for developing players, what would it be and why?
Well, everybody's different. Everybody has a different pace of their swing. Tempo is an important thing to make a good swing. But there are guys that have fast tempos that were great players. Lanny Watkins was one, Nick Price was another, but they had a rhythm within that tempo. Yeah, we'd all like to swing like Ernie and Freddie. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's just a beautiful thing to watch. But I think rhythm is an important thing in a golf swing, and you have to find whatever that rhythm is in your swing that allow you to swing the club the same way. Golf is nothing more than a game of repetition. If you can take it back and make contact and start on the line you're looking with, you can play golf. I mean, can you imagine if Jim Furyk had a coach who wasn't his dad? Because his dad, as Mike, has always been his coach. He wouldn't have had that motion there. He may have had a beautiful position at the top, but we'd have never heard of him.
No, he dropped the club so far inside he couldn't hit the ball.
Yeah, and that's how he played. I mean, you could look at the Hall of Fame. Nicklaus and Palmer didn't have great-looking swings. Trevino didn't have a great-looking swing mechanically. Player didn't have a great-looking swing, but they were great players. So there's a lot of ways to do it. And I think rhythm and tempo are a huge key in allowing you to do whatever it is you need to do, whatever your your PJ instructor tells you that you need to do. If you can do it in slow motion, and I'm a great believer in slow motion swings, and I film them.
100%.
I film
them
because then they can physically do what you're trying to do. And then I tell them, well, here's the good news and here's the bad news. Look at this film right here. The good news is, did you see that? You just proved to yourself you can do that. He goes, yeah, what's the bad news? I said, the bad news is you just proved to yourself you can do it, so you better get your start working on it.
How do you feel about hand-eye coordination?
Oh, I think it's hugely important.
Right. How do you train that, though, if, like, for our average golfer? Because I see it all the time. I deal with, my members, and it's like, oh, I was a good athlete. I'm a good athlete. I'm like, what do you mean? Why are you hitting it off the hosel right now? Like, how would you ever, right? And I'll get them like moving around, hitting shots, like you saw the video of Tiger the other day, right? I've used this in the last couple of weeks of him just hitting balls left-handed only, right? He's just kind of chipping them on the range, and people think he was just messing around. He's not messing around. That was a systematic way of him training or kind of getting that feel back of what's important and hitting those shots left-hand only. I thought it was so purposeful, and people I don't think they really understood what they were watching. Was a genius.
About 12, 13 years ago, when I first opened my academy in Dubai, and we built this beautiful place in Dubai, I gave it to Claude. My son now runs it. And they wanted a big junior program for their locals to learn how to play golf and stuff. Talk about no hand-eye coordination. They'd never done anything with throwing a ball. They all played soccer. So we would give these kids just a tennis ball and say, here, throw it to me. And they look like a little old lady. They just go like this. They've never used any wind-up in their body. So we literally built a wall, a wooden wall, off to the side of the range and just made them throw stuff at it. Whatever you have, just throw it at it. And at first they're throwing it in the ground, they're throwing it over the wall because, their eyes aren't telling them what they do because they didn't play sports like you and I. They didn't play basketball or baseball or hockey or any of these damn things we all grew up playing. So hand-eye coordination is huge. The problem with older people, like up where I am, and maybe not as old as I am, is flexibility is not there and coordination is lacking. So yes, they could have been a good athlete, but all
they just lose it a little bit.
Their body does it. And I fault this in my swing now because I still like to play. I
know you do.
Frustrated with myself. But my mind still functions like I can play, and my body's going, who the hell are you kidding? Well, I'm laughing. Your body's laughing. And I'll come in sometimes, and Christy will say, because I live right on a golf course, and we all have our own carts, and I go out in the evening and play 9 holes. How'd you play out there? Terrible. I count negative now. I'm so bad. She goes, well, look, you're 80 years old. Like, damn it, I don't care how old I am. I don't like bad shots.
I hear that.
I said, today my body wouldn't function with my brain. I said, it just wasn't working. But hand-eye coordination is important. And you get guys that are 17, 18 handicaps, and they will tell you, I was really a good athlete. Well, first of all, if you know anybody knows them, go back and find out about that, because I'm going to bet you they weren't. That's number one.
No, they're playing right field in baseball.
I don't know if you realize that most of the great tennis players, and they all love to play golf the opposite that they play tennis. If they play tennis left-handed, they play golf right-handed. If they play tennis right-handed, they play golf left-handed. I asked Jimmy Connors once, why is that? He said, it's very simple. Your tennis motion is a two-hand backhand. If you're playing right-handed and you got a two-hand backhand, that's a golf swing. So then they go play golf, they go play left-handed. All of them are opposite.
Pretty good.
The only one who's really a good player is Pete Sampras, and he can really play, but he had a one-hand backhand. He didn't have the two-hand backhand. All the others, whether it's Lendl or Agassi or Connors, I don't know if McEnroe plays golf or not, but they all play golf the opposite way they play tennis. And that's
interesting.
That's hand-eye coordination, because that's how 100%. They're hitting the backhand.
My tennis players, we talk about them hitting it off the shaft, and like you miss the strings. Like what? How many times? I had a guy this morning because pickleball is like really big now. I go, and I had a guy who's a pretty good athlete. I know he played baseball, and I could tell. I'm like, when's the last time you missed the ball in pickleball? He goes, I don't think I've ever done it. I'm like, how can you not hit the club face? Like, what are you doing? Like, I get so frustrated. I'm sitting there like, I'm jumping around, hitting shots, and like, I don't get it. So it's like, we have our little tasks and drills to train it, but that's a tough one, man. It's a tough one for me. Yeah. I'm like, how do you and then when you tell them they're hitting it off the shaft, how do you not try to hit it off the toe. Like, it's like, do something different, and then just keep doing it.
Probably this way too, because this is how I learned. I'm a big believer in opposites.
100%. Me too. Yeah, I'm like, hit it off the mirror.
Big hook. If you're hooking the shit out of it, I'm going to get you to hitting slices because you'll meet in the middle.
Right.
You meet in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's what. But when you had to get a guy like that says, has that hand-eye coordination, he can't even put the club on the ball.
It's unbelievable.
That's not only frustrating for him, that's frustrating for you. Because you're working hard trying to get him to do it.
I do a drill where I basically have him address, like I'll put 2 balls out and I'll put a ball on the inside of the ball closer to them, right? And I'll say, this is going to make you feel absolutely ridiculous when you can do this. Address the outside ball
and hit the inside.
Yeah. And he does it. And I'm like, how in the world would you ever hit it off the shaft?
And then tell him the opposite. Address the inside.
Yeah, then I'll draw a lot. Yeah, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, and he's like, wow, I can. I'm like, yeah, what did you, like, I didn't have to tell you anything about how to do it. That's hand-eye coordination. What are you looking at? I could go on and rant on that.
And now you got the guy addressing the ball on the other side of the ball and swinging it and hit it on the inside. And they hit it, and they make contact doing it.
And flush it. And he absolutely flushes it. I'm like, I don't get it. All right, next question. I'll go on a rant on that. Steve Moore asks, good buddy of mine from Canada, good young coach, in looking at a person and the swing, many great coaches and players alike have said that one of your greatest skills is to see and treat players as individuals in both areas. In saying that, do you still see and observe patterns in both swings and personality in great players? And if so, what are the main ones, or is it all a case study of one?
I think it's a case study of each individual, to be honest with you. You look at a guy that's hyper and has a hyper personality, he's going to have a pretty quick swing because that's just how he is. And, and it goes back to what I said earlier, you can't treat everybody the same. Everybody, you got to look at them differently. And so I think that's the important part you have to understand. You got to understand who your student is. You got to understand, what is his golf IQ? Is he a scratch golfer? Is he a 10 handicap? Is he a 20 handicap? And you got to understand that. And you got to understand, then you look at his flexibility. Does he have any flexibility? Does he have any kind of rhythm in his swing? Give him a gap wedge and tell him just to hit a little 50, 60-yard shot and see what you get. See because if he can take the club nicely and put the club on it, well, you got a chance. But if he's all over the place with that one, you might give him his money back and move on to the next guy. I'm only kidding on that one.
Yeah. That's great. Do you do any screens, like TPI screens, or any of your own screens when you're like assessing a new student?
Yeah, we go through. If it's somebody that I've never met before, I need to know something about them. I need to know if they've had any knee replacements or surgeries. I need to know how their back is. I need to know how flexible they are. And you can see this as they're warming up. And then the other thing, you got to ask them, do you like to practice? Or do you just play on Sundays? Or do you play 3 times a month? Or you listen to their personalities. If they're very analytical, you're in trouble because they're going to overanalyze. Those are the tough ones.
Yeah.
The other tough ones are CEOs and heads of big corporations because no one tells them what to do. And all of a sudden, you're telling them what to do on every shot. And sometimes they don't like that.
Yeah, they don't want to learn.
I make a joke out of it. I said, well, shit, the ball didn't like it either. Look at the way you just hit it. I mean, that ball doesn't want to come back to you. You can't make contact, and so you got to turn it around on them sometimes. But I think it comes back to knowing who you're dealing with, knowing what you've got to deal with. And, if you're just trying to make them get the club on the ball to start with, let's get the club on the ball, get a wedge out. Let's see you hit a 50-yard shot. I mean, you got a studio just like I do. We guys can't get out of the studio. Well, shit, I want to go in the other room. I want to leave because I'm going to get hit back here, So
there's been some close calls.
You just got to know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, and I think what I'm hearing there is like ask good questions, right?
Ask a lot of questions.
And then be a good listener.
The other thing, Jason, and I know online, I don't read any of this shit, but my son reads all this stuff all the time. I get criticized all the time at major championships. They all go, I don't know why this Butch Harmon, everybody thinks he's so good. Look, he's just got his players laughing out there. He's just telling them jokes and shit. Well, you dumb son of a bitch. We did all our work before we got there. Okay, if we're not ready to play in a major, that's my fault. Because with the Masters is easy to get ready for. You got 8 months between majors and we're on the same course. We can figure out if we need to change shots. And as soon as that's over with, we used to go to the U.S. Open. Now it's the PGA. You look at where the PGA's played. Then you say, okay, maybe we need to change trajectories or maybe we need to shape the ball more like that. So we get to the tournament, we've done the homework. I'm just trying to get them relaxed because they're all uptight. It's not. I wouldn't say that it's nervous. It's anxiety. They're like a racehorse in the starting gate, especially the ones that get there on Saturday and Sunday the week before. My God, what are you doing there?
Too much.
Home. Show up Tuesday morning and play 9 holes and 9 holes on Wednesday. Let's go. You played the course before. So, I mean, it's just so funny the way some of these guys are, how they overdo it. I like the guy that's like me, that's not real smart. I mean, it couldn't spell ox if you gave him the O, because then he's not going to overthink anything. He's not analytical. He's not trying to analyze. But the swing's over with in a second and a half. It's gone. The ball's out of there. It's long gone. I told one the other day, can I be a little R-rated on this if it's not too
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, curse all you want.
I had this guy, you know me, I'm a great believer in head rotation. I love seeing your eyes follow the ball out. I hate this look back here because it takes away
keeping your head down is what he's showing.
It doesn't allow you to get the club out. And so I was trying to get this guy to release his head, and I showed him David Duval's picture. He's coming down, he's looking over here.
Yeah,
DJ. His head wheeling out early. Anybody that's shut at the top, and they got to get out of the way. He said, well, I can't see the ball. I said, well, it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be there. And he's going, I said, let me ask you something. When you got to scratch yourself, do you have to look down there and see where they are, or do you just give it a little scratch? Because you already know where they are, right? I said, well, you know where the damn ball is. Let's put the club on the ball. He says, well, is that going to be a new tip in Golf Digest? I said, no, I don't think you're going to have a picture of me scratching myself, but I'm just giving you a visual, damn it. You know where the ball is. It's going to be there. Nobody's stealing the thing.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I told my students, I lost the ball 30 years ago when I started playing golf. It's not going anywhere. The swing captures the ball. What are you doing?
Why are you make it go?
Yeah. Why you keep looking at the ground?
It's
awesome.
I love that.
I know.
I can't stand them.
I get it. All right. So this is the last question. He's got a couple. This is my boy, Mark Grace from Memphis, now in Florida. What values do you have to contribute to your success?
I would say dedication. Even in my down days when my personal life wasn't in good form because of me, if I was drinking too much or gambling, if I was divorced or something, I've always been a workaholic. I've always worked my butt off, and I've always been willing to try and get better at what I do. I think have an open mind that you don't know it all. I don't know it all. I don't know anybody knows it all. I know a whole bunch of people think they know it all, but they don't know it all. Like I said, right. I'm 80 years old. I'm still trying to learn. I want to get better at what I do. And the more I learn, the more I see things, the more I can get better at what I do, which makes it better for the people that I'm trying to help. So I think just always try and get better. Don't get so full of yourself that you think you know everything, because you don't. I don't give a damn who you are. You do not know everything. There's a bunch of stuff. You're going to see a guy make a swing from the worst position you've ever seen at the top, and he gets the club square at impact. You went, whoa, how did that just happen? Excuse me, sir, would you hit another shot? Wow, that's impressive. Well, see, you didn't know the guy could get it square at impact from there, so maybe 2 years later, you get a guy that's got the whirly-dirly, and he can't get it square at impact, and the light goes off in your head. Yeah, I remember when Joe Blow did that on the downswing, he dropped the club down a little and was able to deliver it. And that's in your memory bank, and that's just what makes you to try and get better at everything you do. Just never be complacent with your ability to do your job. Always try. I tell people all the time, when I lived in Houston, which the weather's so hot and humid in the summer, and I'm teaching 6-7 hours a day, I said, the hardest lesson I gave all day is the last lesson of the day. Because quite frankly, I'm worn out. I've been through 4 shirts. I'm tired. I want to get in my car and go home. And I'd give you 500 not to take the lesson. But yet I have to be just as in tune to it, just into it as much as I was for the first lesson I gave a day. Because this guy's taking time off from his work. He's paying me good money to hear what I have to say. And I've got to be professional enough to give him the best information I can give him. And that's not always easy when you've had a long day and you're worn out. But that's what we do. That's what makes us good at what we do. And so we keep trying to get better. Just get better, man.
Second question was, do you have a philosophy of when swing changes should be made? If so, how do you manage the change if in season versus out of season? I guess that's like if you're going to make a change prior to a tournament or if they got some gap in between tournaments. I mean, that's a tough call.
It's on an individual basis. I think you have to have I look at it the way I look at it. I have tremendous confidence in my own ability. That's not me trying to be arrogant, because I got a track record that proves that I'm not too bad at what I do. So I have a lot of confidence in what I do. But if I'm dealing with a tour player versus a high handicapper, I'm dealing with the way this guy makes a living. So I better be 100% sure that what I'm telling him to do is the right thing, because these guys can do anything. That's their talent. And I have to be 100% sure that this is the change that needs to happen. Now, once I'm 100% sure, I go, we're going for this. I said, this is what you need to do. This is how we're going to do it. And we're going to do it. And I stick to whatever it is that I think we need to fix first. And until they fix that, we're not changing. And, sometimes guys will look at me, we're going to keep doing this. I said, well, we are unless you get it right. I said, I'd like to get it right, because I'm tired of telling you the same damn thing for the last 40 minutes, and you ain't doing any of it.
I was going to say, how do you deal with the whining? Like if somebody's whining about like the changes. I think you told the Ricky story a long time ago when you changed his takeaway and he was topping it. Like, I love that. I love that about you.
Yeah, he said, you're going to make a fool out of me in front of these people. I think once you just shot the first 36, you've done that to yourself. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But, you just, first of all, as I said, I'm very confident in my own ability. But I don't say that because what I teach today, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I didn't teach. And 15 years before that, I didn't teach. Now, there's a lot of things that have changed. Equipment has changed tremendously. And we've had to change totally the way we think about going from wooden drivers to softballs. Everybody had a reverse seat trying to get the ball in the air, to try and get people on top of it, to drive that right side to there, to launch the ball at a high angle with the least amount of spin to get the most out of it. So I say, look, I teach everything. I'm not giving any of the money back from those days, because I thought I was doing a good job, but I've gotten better and better and better at my craft, and I'm going to continue to get better. So that's the only way I can answer that. Have 100% belief in yourself. The worst thing you can say as an instructor to any student is when you want them to do something, go, yeah, no, I think if you do this, this might work. What do you mean you think? I'm paying you, damn it. You better don't tell me you think this might work. Just never say I think. Just say, here's what you need to do.
Yeah, be confident.
Never be negative. You cannot. I'm the most negative person in the world to myself. But when I teach, I'm the most positive person in the world, because I don't want to hear any negativity. I don't want to hear I can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? You got your name on the bag. People are paying you a lot of money. Yeah, of course you can do it. Come on, let's go. The pity party's over with. Pity party, table of one. Yeah, there's your table right there. Let's forget about that one. Let's get your head out of your ass and let's hit some shots. Now, people say to me, they say, Pro, you've had a great career, so you can say stuff to people that I could never say to them. I said, bullshit, I've been saying it before anybody knew who the hell I was. I mean, if I think this is what you need to do, damn it, this is what we need to do. We have to do this. This
Be confident.
You're paying me to try and make you better, so this is what we're going to do.
We get that all the time from members. It's like, are you sure? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm going to keep saying this. Like, yes, I'm sure.
And think about your members. They take a 30, 45-minute, hour lesson and go out and play bad, and they throw it all out.
Yeah.
And here's what
Didn't work
about that I get students like that. I said, look, let me explain something to you. Tiger Woods won the Masters. Broke the all-time course record, won by 11 shots in '97 when he won the Masters. And at the end of the year, we were changing the swing because the club was a little across the line, and we wanted to get it a little better there and get the downswing a little better because he's always wanting to get better. And so we started right at the end of the season working on this. And I said, look, there's 3 or 4 things that we're going to have to work on. I said, but you're going to have to play this year. So why don't we do a little at a time? He goes, no, I want to do it all right now. That was the way he was. I said, well, Ty, you got to play. I don't give a damn. I don't care if I don't win a tournament. I need to change. So what do you win in one tournament in 1998? Hey, then came 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, and look at it. So I tell my students this all the time. When you give them one lesson and they go out and it doesn't work, they throw it all out. I said, so I guess you're better than Tiger Woods. Took him a year to figure out how he was going to swing. Well, I didn't know you were as good as Tiger Woods. Good for you. And bad shots are part of the process. And we explain that to them. It's not going to happen overnight. Bad shots are part of the process because once we've explained why you hit the bad shot, when you hit a bad shot, the next one you go to hit, you know the system that it takes to fix it. But people are so impatient. They just want it all right now, especially in the world we live in now.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Now is about me. Everything's about
microwave,
me, not anyone else. I mean, you watch the younger generation, especially in the early 30s down in the 20s and teens. It's all me. I know, yeah, it's all about me. Hi, me. Every sentence starts I, me, or mine. I mean, that's what we deal with in this world. I mean, you know, the politically correct world. You can't say anything anymore. You can't tell a joke anymore. Hell, I don't know what world I'm living in. I prefer to be in your world than my world.
I understand. All right, here's the last. Well, next to the last one. The last one you'll know, but still from our Grace. What do you believe is the most important fundamental in golf?
I would say the thing people never think about: basic fundamentals. Takes no athletic ability at all to set up to a ball properly, to have the proper aim, proper distance from the ball, proper grip, proper stance. No one thinks about it. And if you set up to a ball wrong, what happens? If you do something good, you're going to hit a bad shot. So if you set up wrong, you're going to have to do something even more wrong to get out of that setup. And that's why I think basic fundamentals are so important. When you get a guy you've never seen, I mean, my mind is like a computer when I see a golf swing. I see about 30 things at once. You know, grip, posture, ball position, plane of the swing, arm plane, hand plane, shaft plane, all of that. It just jumps out at me. And I see the one thing that I think is wrong with it, and it leaps out at me, and that's what we fix. But I think people have totally forgotten about basic fundamentals. What we deal with today, Jason, and you know this, is everyone's enamored with how far you have to hit the ball. Each and every person we get can only hit it so far. And the secret to that is get the club on the right path and square at impact, hit out of the middle of the club, and then you will become the racing mule that I'm trying to make you. I can't be not Secretariat, but you can win the racing mule contest, which means we can get the best out of your ability.
Love it. All right, last one you've probably gotten 1,000 times from Brian Pate. What was it like coaching Tiger?
Well, it was fascinating because of the natural raw talent. I mean, you've probably seen the films from that.
Yeah, I've seen the videos.
When I first worked with him, you saw the raw talent. Yeah, he was a little skinny kid that hit a ball, didn't know what the hell he was doing, but he just knew he was going to hit it. I think his work ethic. He and Greg Norman were two of the hardest workers of guys that I've had great success with. I mean, they worked their butts off. They were the best players in the world, and they worked harder than all the others that were trying to catch him. And Tiger's work ethic was amazing. And what he wasn't good at, he worked at until he was good at it. He never could spin the ball very well with wedges. He wasn't a very good pitcher of the ball. And I used to have him, when he was amateur champion and you get to play in all the majors, I'd have him play with Seve and Greg and Jose Maria and ask these guys. I said, ask them about their short games when we're out there. Come on, just watch them hit shots. Learn from them. And he would ask a million questions because he always wanted to get better. So working with him was actually fun because he worked so hard and he was so determined to be the best. And he would do whatever it was going to take to be the best. Any weakness he had in his game, he would work hard at it and turn it around and make it a strength. So he was one of the hardest workers I'd ever been around. And that was a joy to watch. As an instructor and a coach, you can't ask for anything better than that. Somebody who's willing just to give it over and above effort to improve and never be satisfied with where you are. Always know you can get better.
So good, man. Well, I can't thank you enough for your time once again. It's always great to catch up with you and see what you're up to. And obviously a huge admirer and great to call you a friend.
We've been friends for a long time. I admire your work. I know your work with William. And here's one of the things I like. I was watching some film you post on Instagram the other day. He's got a strange position at the top.
Absolutely.
And you haven't changed it because that's how he swings. And see, most guys wouldn't change that. And I know I watched him hit some balls when I was in South Carolina one time at his place there when he was living there. And he said, what do you think? And I said, some stuff through the ball. So what do you think about this? I said, that's how you swing. We're not worrying about that. Let's just get back on the ball, get a little better extension past impact, and rotate your body more forward instead of hanging back. That's all you got to do. And I really admire watching the work you've done with him, and I hope he gets it back because he's a great guy. And please tell him hi from me.
I would definitely, and that means so much to me because we call that the non-negotiables, right? It's like the things that he showed up with that other instructors, I'm not going to mention any names, that tried to change. And he's like, I've made $1 million making with his backswing. I'm like, look, we're going to build your golf swing around what you already do.
Yeah.
So we work on a lot of other stuff with pivot and pressure shifts and this and that. And so I've been really, really proud of the work we've done. And I think he's getting ready to to come out of some good stuff. So I appreciate that.
How old
40, he just turned 44.
So he's kind of in that limbo area before he can get to the tour. And that's all right.
We've been working together for 2 years now, and it was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing it. I'm like, look, you've got a lot of game left. Let me try to help you. And I think
he's won before. He's got game.
He's got a lot of game. So I appreciate you saying that. And I'll tell him.
What I said, never take away what a guy does naturally. Just make it better.
That's right.
That's the secret.
And I tell my people that ask me what we're working on, I said, look, 10, 15 years ago, I probably would have changed that and I would have ruined him.
Yeah, you might have. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep.
So.
But I admire you because I watch your Instagrams, and because I like William, he's such a good guy. I was looking at one you just redid recently. I go, he's got in that position, but damn, he's so much better coming down now.
So good.
And you tell him I said that, and I won't even charge him for that.
I love it. That's great. All right. So last question before you go. Everybody has to answer this question. I did not ask you this in our last podcast.
Okay.
So if you had to get a message to the world, billions of people, and put it on a billboard, metaphorically speaking, of course, what would your message be and why?
My message would be a life message that would say, which is what I was brought up with, always treat people the way you would like them to treat you. And it doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter what color they are. It doesn't matter what religion they are. Just treat people the way you want to be treated. As my dad used to say, it doesn't cost you a dime to be nice to people. You got to work at being an asshole. And the assholes we know work hard at being one. But that would be my message. And I think the world would be a lot better place if everybody lived their life that way.
So good, man. You're the best. I appreciate you so much. And let me know if I can ever do anything for you, because you've done so much for me and the rest of golf and golf instructors. So I appreciate you so much.
You're very kind. You've been a very good friend. And anytime you need me to come on, I'm more than happy to do it. I'll be a little more prepared than I was today with the computer stuff, because I'm not good at computers. Like I said, I'm good at finding golf scores, sports scores, and maybe some stuff I shouldn't be looking at.
It's all good, my man. I appreciate you, my friend.
Take care.
You too.
Stay safe.
What's up, everyone? Guru back here again with a couple of things before you go. First, big thank you to Mr. Harmon for coming on the show and sharing his incredible insight about instruction and life. It's just unbelievable to spend time with him, and I know it will help you all become better coaches. Make sure you follow Butch on the gram. He is actually posting a lot on Instagram lately. And his Instagram handle is Coop4359. So it's at Coop, COUP 4359. Not like he needs any more followers. And give him a social wave and tell him thank you for coming on the show and send him questions. Thank you again for my new sponsor, Istruzi. Go download the app and check it out, and make sure that you add the asterisk after your name so they knew that you heard it on the show. Also, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, or X as I guess it is, at Golf Guru TV. That's at Golf Guru TV. Let's get those followers up. And guys out there, share the show. Share that you've listened to it. I appreciate all the ones that I get on your stories. It's fantastic, but that's the only way we're going to grow this thing. Also, check it out, my website at golfgurutv.net. And if you have a question or comment, you can email the show at golfgurushow@gmail.com, or just hit me up on the DM. That's the easiest way. Thank you to my producer, Mr. Joel North, for your continued excellent work on this podcast and future podcasts of the Golf Guru Show. Music was brought to you by Kevin MacLeod and Zach Mullet. And leave me an iTunes review. I haven't got a review lately because I haven't really asked for it. Well, that would be great. Let's see if we can run up the board a little bit. And I appreciate all the text messages. I appreciate all the DMs saying that the Golf Guru Show is making a difference in your life and your coaching. It means everything to me. So keep them coming. And as always, leave you with study, practice, teach, and then make sure you pass it on. Thanks so much for listening. I'll talk to you next time.